Welcome to part one series of how to cut and sew men's shirts. We get two pieces of fabric that is of desired length on fold, laying over each other. The one at the upper part is 3 inches longer than the one at the lower part. These 3 inches serve as the button stand. It is folded inward and pressed with a pressing iron. Then the uppermost material is aligned with the one at the back. So we are going to start by measuring the shoulder length, half of the shoulder length on the measurement. Then go down by 2.5 inches, which serve as the shoulder slope. And then you connect to the center front and center back of both material. If you've done that, what you're going to do is that you're going to cut it out. That's the first thing you're going to do if you're cutting any man's shirt. So if you've cut it out, you will then you see that is now at a certain angle. So the one at the toppermost, the front panel, you're going to draw it down by 4.5 inches. Make sure it's 4.5 inches. Then if you've drawn it down by 4.5 inches, then you are going to fold the back pattern so that the shoulder point will meet with the first one. Then use your pressing iron to press it very well so that there will be a crease line. So now this is it. Is from here you start drafting your pattern. So what you're going to do now is the first thing is measure the shirt length. Our shirt length is going to be 30, so we're making it 32. We need to make it 32, so we rule that line, which is our hem line. The next thing we are going to be doing is to impute the waistline. The waistline, we are going to impute the waistline, which is 17. Then the next thing we are going to impute is our chest line. Instead of using chest line, we're going to use the bust line, which is 10 inches away from the shoulder line. So this is it. So we've represented all our vertical measurement. Now is to insert our horizontal measurement. We start by putting the bust measurement, which our bust is 43. We added a 5-inch allowance, which is making 48. We mark that 48 on the bust line, and on the shoulder line, we mark the shoulder measurement, which is 20. We mark it 10, and we draw it down to the bust line. So from here we now get our armhole. We look for the midpoint. If we look for the midpoint of between the armhole and the shoulder slope, then we go in by 3/4 inch, and then make a slant as shown in the video. Then use your curve rule to bring out the shape of the other lower parts. So the next thing we'll be doing is on our bust. We had 12 inches. We have 12 inches. So we are going to measure that same 12 inches at the lower part, at the hemline. Then we are going to move it up. That same 12 inches, we are going to move it up that way. So then we go to the waistline. When we get to the waistline, we reduce 1/2 inch. If we've reduced 1/2 inch, we then blend it together. We reduce 1 inch rather. We reduce 1 inch from the shoulder, from the waistline, and we blend it. So after that, what we are going to do is just cut it out. But we forgot that we at the hemline. The hemline is not always straight, so you go to the sideline and go in by by 1 inch. Then look for the midpoint of the hemline, and then curve it from that midpoint to that sideline. If you've curved it, so you can then cut it out. So this is gradually you've gotten your shirts. This is your basic. This is how shirt is being drawn. So if you've cut this shirt now, the next thing you're going to be doing is the neck. My neck circumference is 18 and my neck radius is 2.5. But here I'm going to make use of 2 inches. So the neck depth is going to be 2 inches, while the neck width is going to be 2 inches. Because if we finish drafting, there's going to be extension from the collars, from the button stand. So that's why we are leaving that allowance. If you are going to make it exact, at the end of the day, you see that the neck is too big. So this is it. You measure it. As I measured it now, is about 16 instead of 18. So by the time we add by the time we add the collar stand and the collar stand, by the time we add the button stand, you see that it's almost 18. So we've cut down the neck. So the next thing we'll be doing is we are going to measure the midpoint of the armhole, then notch. If we measure the midpoint of the armhole, we notch. That place will serve as the back yoke. We are about to bring out the back yoke here. So we notch it. If we've notched it, then we'll take it to our table. Take the back pattern and to your table and cut out the notched part. So what we do, instead of us just cutting out the notch part, we are going to leave allowance because of the joining allowance. We are going to leave allowance of 0.5 inches. In this illustration, the back yoke is 2, so we are going to be cutting it out as 2. So what we did now is to find that place that we already notched while we are drafting. We press it hard and come to this place. Then we extend it by 0.5 inches upward, because if you cut it at that line, you are going to be having challenges when you are cutting. It's going to be shorter. So we are going to be cutting it out by 0.5 inch. But also remember that in the other part, the other upper part, the yoke is reducing by 0.5 inch. That means when you are adding your pattern, you are going to add 0.5 inch and then plus another 0.5 inch for the sewing allowance. So what we did now is that we iron it out so that it will be smooth. Then get a piece of fabric that is folded and cut it out. So since it's going to be 2, it's going to be like this. We'll fold into 2, then refold it again so that it will be 4. If you count it, it's going to be 4. But you then cut it out with the other pattern. So like I told you initially, when you are cutting it out, you are going to leave allowance of 1 inch, ½ inch for joining allowance, then ½ inch for the allowance for the one you've lost while cutting it. So you trace it out and cut it out. So this is your yoke. Then the yoke, remember, by the time you're sewing it, you're going to sandwich it on the back pattern. So all of them, the yoke plus the other pattern, make up the back pattern. So we are done with the yoke. This is the yoke of the cloth, as you can see. The other one, you can use your paper to cut it out, or you can use fabric if you have enough fabric. Look at it. We are taking the other one out. We can use the other piece for pocket. Okay, back to the front piece. We cut it out after we have cut it out so that it will be separated into 2 parts, the left and the right. The left hand side is the buttonhole stand, while the right hand side is for the holding the button. So you see the left hand is always covering the right hand side for every male clothes. The next thing we're going to do is cut our sleeve. We're going to be using this. Our sleeve length is 25. So here we're going to cut. Since we are having cuff, we are going to reduce it to 23. Then cut it out. The 23 is for our cup is 3 inches long. So we'll be putting allowance at the top and at the bottom. So we are going to be using sleeve cap of 4 inches. You can make it 5. It all depends on how you want it. Then the cuff width, we are making use of cuff width of 12. 1 inch for allowance. Then the other 1 inch for that. So we are curving it out. These are our sleeve curve. So what we did was initially we've measured the armhole length. So the armhole length, that's what we represent on the sleeve here. Then if we've done with this, we'll now cut it out. Then if you've cut it out, what you then do now is go to the edge. You lay the clothes flat. You lay the sleeve flat. If you've laid the sleeve flat, then you measure. Then from the left or from the right, it all depends on the side you want to choose from. Any side you can choose from, any side. You cut it 3 inches from the left or from the right. You can choose to go anywhere. It's either 3 inches from the left or from the right. Then you measure it 4 inches inward. 4 inches inward and cut a very straight line. That's for your hand placards. Thank you for watching this video. We've come to the end of this video. Kindly subscribe if you've not subscribed, share, like, and make comments.